Here are the top 10 games of 2022. We're on an epic comeback right now. Videos performing wildly, and what a better way to let you guys know what I've been playing recently, and if you've been playing some games recently, let me know as well. I want to get to know the audience for the new revolution. Honorable mentions: Chained Echoes. Chained Echoes is billing itself as a spiritual successor to games like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI. People playing this game are absolutely in love with it. Am I in love with it? Well, not really, or at least not yet. The love letter callbacks are definitely there, although it still feels inspired by rather than being an actual lost game from the 90s. The developer is attempting to address some of the issues that modern gamers have with those old games, and that does sort of bring about a different experience. There is a certain difficulty in tackling some of these old games that are almost nostalgic at this point and bring about a certain charm. So far, I'm only about 5 hours in, so I'm not totally sure how I will feel about it once I'm done. I do like the general vibe of the game, although it is a little different. The combat system is interesting and it plays out like a puzzle, and that's both good and bad because sometimes in turn-based combat you do just kind of want to barrel through some enemies. This game actually makes me think. So maybe this game is actually a little better than perhaps some of the older school games if you want all of your combat to be meaningful. That's a thing to ponder on. I can see this game potentially making the top 10 list if I had more time, but unfortunately for Chained Echoes, I didn't have more time. Number 10 is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Tiny Tina was completely forgotten about, apparently. It's not that bad of a game, but I am not seeing it mentioned anywhere. So last year, I played a bunch of old school RPGs, including Tales of Phantasia, Tales of Destiny, and a few different Legend of Heroes games. At a certain point, I just wanted a dumb game where I could go shoot and kill some stuff. That is exactly what I got from this game. Emphasis on dumb, because this game is really stupid. That is sort of by design though. It's a Borderlands spin-off featuring a cast of characters trying to kill time with a Dungeons and Dragons rip-off game that they're playing on a ship. This mess is the solution that they come up with. All of these characters act like they've been hit in the head one too many times. Sometimes the game does drag on, and that is why it is only in the number 10 spot. What feels like it should have been just a single joke. It's like the developers thought they were really clever, and suddenly you have these side quests that get dragged on for like 10 or 20 minutes. Maybe I should have just put Chained Echoes here instead. Maybe Tiny Tina should have been bumped to number 11, disappearing in obscurity forever. Number 9 is Rogue Legacy 2. There's nothing worse than another side-scrolling Metroidvania roguelike, right? I start running away screaming these days at the prospect of playing another roguelike. I am so tired of them. Trying to play games like the PS5's Returnal, which I actually really like, drives me bonkers these days, and I am concerned about mental health. My mental health. However, as the OG, which Rogue Legacy was, I had to play this game. I can confirm that I like this game more than both Salt and Sanctuary and Dead Cells. There's a definite sense of progression that this game delivers on, with permanent unlockables, general layouts that tend to exist between the levels, so it still does feel like you're getting somewhere and figuring out where things generally might be, even when you have to start all over again and the layout does change. And you can permanently beat some of these bosses with increasing difficulty. The different classes work well, lending the game to different styles of play, sometimes forcing you to experiment beyond your preferences. The game is extremely frustrating though, particularly at the end. I was screaming and the game was driving me nuts. And because of that, maybe I should have put Chained Echoes here, bumping this game down as well. Number 8 is Bayonetta 3. Wow, this game, what a wild ride for drama. And thankfully I was not making videos during this time, because I would have had something to say. Someone should make a compilation video of all the people freaking out over the voice actress for Bayonetta supposedly getting screwed by Nintendo, just for everyone to change their tune the very next day and condemn her. That was hilarious. You know, I'm a content creator now, again. I could actually make that video. I'm sure karma will not come back to bite me. It's a fun action game, though probably the weakest of the three. The multiversal storyline twist, which is that really even a twist? That's really just the premise of the game. Works when you have a property that is already just bonkers stupid, that has gone off the rails like all of that Marvel garbage right now. It is a tasty treat though sometimes. Using it here, this multiversal storyline, when you only have 2 games, is kind of dumb. You know, it's not like any of these games were ever coherent either, so ultimately, maybe that's a minor complaint. The excessive minigame battles and the fact that the game refers to them as minigames drives me nuts as well. Somehow, this top 10 list has turned into me bitching, but that's just the way it goes. It's my list. This was a fun game with a cool battle system and some wild moments. Go check it out. Number 7 is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I really enjoy old school platformers. I hope Crash Bandicoot keeps getting new games, even though the 1 through 3 re-release was harder than the original and 4 was a real pain in the behind as well. Kirby Automata here though was actually pretty chill, and I liked that. A lot of reviewers called it an easy baby game, and while it kind of was, I couldn't go completely on autopilot the entire time. It was the perfect difficulty to just sort of hang out with, listen to a podcast on the side, and I can appreciate that. I also enjoy it when these cutesy games go surreal and suggest some really heinous crap, only to reel it back just a few moments later and gaslight the crap out of me and pretend it never happened. Yeah, let's go Kirby. Number 6 is Star Ocean: The Divine Force. Did anyone play the 5th game, Star Ocean: Integrity and Faithlessness? Every time people start complaining about Western games that fail to deliver, like No Man's Sky, I just shake my head. I'm pretty sure these people think that only 5 video games come out every year, because us JRPG fans, people who got into the series on the Super Nintendo, what am I talking about, on the PlayStation or the PlayStation 2, we have some hard times sometimes. People aren't complaining about these games like they did with Cyberpunk. It is a ghost town when these games released if they aren't a 10 out of 10. I was really scared for this game, the 6th main game in the franchise. I was pretty sure the Tri-Ace went bankrupt actually a few years ago, but hey, here we are. Luckily, this game is good. Tri-Ace is dragging their feet in addressing the insanity of the 3rd title, which is a little disappointing that they are continuously trying to apologize for something that was ahead of its time. These sort of isekai elements that it had, but that's okay. I'm all for more B and A grade Japanese RPGs that are not just defaulting to lolly nonsense. The Divine Force is rough in spots as they're sort of economic with their assets, focusing on creating locations that can be used multiple times, so there aren't as many just great special moments. But all in all, I enjoyed this fast action sci-fi romp. It was really cool. Number 5 is Saints Row. Oh man, Saints Row. This game got really crapped on. A lot of official publications did not really dwell much on this video game. It just sort of came and went. Longtime fans hated on it hard for its marketing that seemed to scale back the crude humor from the old games, which, yeah, it kind of did. It seems like only the worst of the worst got scaled back of that crude humor, which 80% of back in the day we often thought was just obscene for the sake of being obscene and not actually funny. I miss the clever, edgy 20% of it all, but it isn't game ruining that is not here anymore. The, I guess, progressive crap, like the characters complaining about their student loans and landlords and other garbage, is so over the top that I can't even tell if it's trying to pander to this specific audience or make fun of this specific audience. I literally have no idea. Like, these are murdering psychopaths that are stealing tons of money, robbing banks and other locations. The issues that they complain about, like paying back their student loans when considering exactly what is going on, just makes no sense. I don't know if they're making fun of it or not. Grand Theft Auto, especially with the fourth game, went progressively more serious. Saints Row was the callback to a simpler time, kind of, which realized that you just wanted to drive fast cars and shoot people. By Saints Row 3, and especially the fourth, the series got away from that, turning more into a superhero style of game. Saints Row, this one, is back to the basics and it delivers. Are there bugs? Yes. Apparently everyone forgot that the older games had bugs too. It comes with the territory. B-level or not quite AAA video games that are trying to do open world always has this kind of nonsense. And if you actually play the games, you'll find that it doesn't really even matter that much. This game is actually really fun. Number 4 is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Out the gate, I was really impressed with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as it had a slightly more mature vibe with aged up characters and a war-torn Gundam-like story going on in the background. I still like this, and it does differentiate the game compared to the first two, but man, the cutscenes know how to be long-winded with endless pontification. Donkey made a video lamenting how the characters repeat themselves over and over again in battle, and yeah, so very true. It gets exhausting. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a game where it does the big things really, really well, with some of the small things so bad. The gameplay is polished, but the vibe just needs to be upgraded a little bit with these tiny little things. I like hanging out in this world, but like I said, 3 is ultimately the weakest of the 3. I still really love the gameplay, the areas, the art style, the music, the visual atmosphere, and more. I feel like this game could be fine-tuned just a little bit, dial back some of the inane nonsense, just a little bit, and it would be so much better. But really, it is a really good game. Number 3 is Elden Ring. Of course, Elden Ring had to make this list. I didn't want to, but I had to. This is probably the sort of universally best title on this list, if it wasn't for the fact this was my list. I almost skipped this title. I was sick of it upon release just by all the hype and marketing that the game got. Like, Souls games really aren't that amazing at this point, are they? However, I eventually made a deal with the devil. And by the devil, I mean good friend Matt. I told him that I would play through this game if he would play through Ys the Oath in Falgana. Yeah, that toll sure held up his end of the bargain. Anyway, Elden Ring is basically the game that we wanted Twilight Princess to be. Open-ended, rough, hardcore with good swordplay and magic. Elden Ring delivers and will also make you hate your life. It is a really hard game. You know, it's hard to think of another game exactly like Elden Ring, which is kind of amusing because it hits the basic points so well that you would think that there would be a whole line of games exactly like this that already exist, but they don't. And that is a testament to just how in tune these developers from software were with creating what turned out to be quite the masterpiece. There are a lot of paths that you can take. The game requires patience and mastery. There are a lot of interesting locales, and the cooperative multiplayer works really well here too. Number 2 is Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. Hell yeah, chaos, and I'm not even joking. Stranger of Paradise is an amazing game. Unlike Elden Ring, this game will not cause you to start yelling so hard that the neighbors call the cops out of concern for your girlfriend. It's still challenging though. Stranger of Paradise does well to flesh out the original Final Fantasy story, sitting on top of it, providing a new perspective. If you don't remember, the original NES game had a pretty zany time loop that was cutting edge for the time. Stranger of Paradise does a good job building on that, and also reminds us that time loops in Final Fantasy games have been around since the very beginning, and perhaps a whole lot of people need to stop getting freaked out about them when they pop up in a particularly newer title. That's worth considering. Alright, back to this game. The hack and slash gameplay is great. The quick class changes are fun, and the game is very exciting. It feels like we've gotten away from these kinds of games that aren't just open world collectathons. Those are getting so tiring. Remember when we enjoyed games like Ninja Gaiden? Just a little bit of openness or optional content, but primarily a singular focus in regards to what to do. That can be good too. I really enjoyed this one a lot. Number 1 is The Legend of Heroes: Trails from Zero. Hell yes, Trails from Zero is the best game of the year. I was close to cutting it, but technically this is the game's first official English release, and it is amazing and should not be overlooked. Trails fans are a bit wild in recommending this franchise, but hey, I get it. When I started playing them, I was taken aback at just how much talking, wandering around towns, and not fighting that there was. However, it is all so good, creating a cohesive narrative that works well on multiple levels that are interesting and engaging. Through a Trails game, you have what's happening interpersonally between the characters, what's happening in the story narrative at face value, what's happening in the overarching narrative between the different games, what's potentially going on in the background, and the individual stories of the NPCs whenever you decide to talk to them. It is more fleshed out than I have seen from any other video game franchise, creating a living and breathing world that provides the best of what old school JRPGs can do. Trails from Zero starts a new duology following the Trails in the Sky trilogy with a brand new set of characters in the city of Crossbell. For the people on board, this is the obvious greatest title this year. If you haven't played it, go check it out, and if you want to start the Trails series from the beginning, check out Trails in the Sky over on Steam. Let me know what you think, and let me know what your favorite games of the year are in the comments. If there's a bunch of comments for any particular games that I haven't tried out, maybe I will check them out and create a video on it. Also, like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me at NeverChris on Twitter. There's good reason. See you next time.